Dan the Wheelman here, coming to you from beautiful Scottsdale, Arizona, and my very extra special guest today is this. This is the all-new 2026 Nissan Sentra. Now, this is the SR version. That gives you this cool blacked-out grille, these black 18-inch wheels, all new Sentra, the S, the SV, and the SR, what we're gonna be getting in Canada. They all come with a new grille design. It's like a evolution of what Nissan calls the V-Motion grille, the most extreme application of it yet. Pretty cool. They all get these a new stand. They're a little more kind of fastback looking than previous. The SR also gets adds like a special rear spoiler as well. Different rear diffuser makes the car look wider than it actually is. One engine choice is a 4-cylinder engine paired with a CVT transmission. We'll talk more about that as this video goes on. But this is a pretty cool looking thing, I have to say. If it drives like it looks, I think we're in for a good time. So let's get to it. At the wheel now of the new 2026 Nissan Sentra, I've got dual 12.3-inch displays in front of me here. That's what greets you when you step in. The lower trim is actually the lowest trim, which is S. It comes in S, SV, and SR, which is what I'm in now. The S trim has a 7-inch gauge cluster. I have a 12.3-inch gauge cluster and a 12.3-inch central display. All Sentras get that as well, which comes with wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. If you'd rather use USB-C ports, I've got 2 of them here, which is nice. Nissan says they've positioned this whole display here, these dual displays, to reduce eye fatigue. The way they've aligned it so you can get a better view of it from your peripheral vision. That's what they say. Cowl seems lower in this Sentra than the last one to me. I've also got capacitive touch HVAC controls. I'm not a big fan of that. I'd rather have traditional buttons and knobs. That way you can operate them with gloves on. A lot easier to operate those when you're driving. You don't have to look down to see where you're touching and just feel for the controls. But they don't have that here. It's just capacitive touch. And they say they're the only vehicle in the segment that has that. I'm pretty sure the Volkswagen Jetta has that, but it really depends on how you define segment. But it's nice, it's comfortable in here. I've got the zero gravity seats, which Nissan is very careful to say that they didn't develop in partnership with NASA. They used technology from NASA in their research to build these seats. And what they're meant to do is just reduce your fatigue over longer drives. So back support, rib support, thigh support, all that kind of stuff is taken into account to give you more, just a more comfortable drive, and it is quite comfortable in here. It's nice. They're supportive enough. They're not too hard. A lot of inexpensive, entry level-ish compact sedans have very firm front seats or back seats. These ones don't. In addition to the comfortable seats, space-wise, there's a little more volume in the cabin, according to Nissan, than there used to be, but the car has pretty much got the same footprint as it used to have. It only looks a little wider because of the way they designed the rear bumper and stuff. What they've definitely increased, though, and decreased, both for the good, they've increased the size of the trunk opening so you can get bigger items in there, and they've made the trunk floor lower. So the lift-over height to load the trunk, about 405 liters of cargo altogether, is lower now than it used to be. When we first got here, they had shown us how big it is by putting a 55-inch television in its box in the trunk with the rear seats folded, which is pretty cool. By the way, the rear seats fold from the trunk now. They didn't used to be able to do that. You had to fold them only from inside the car. Now when you're in the trunk and you go, oh, I need more room, pull a couple levers on the side, rear seats fold down, 60-40 split. So that's smart. The SR, that gives you some special stuff. It gives you this red contrast color stitching on the steering wheel and on the dash here, plus some special red coloring on the seats, which is kind of neat. I've got this new, it's called something to do with ember color. It's like a reddish orange. That is an SR special as well. And the special wheels that I mentioned in the intro too. So it's a nice cockpit. It's comfortable and it's fairly quiet. They've also increased stiffness by 6%, they say. They haven't changed the suspension components, but they've modified them. They've tweaked them. They've also tweaked the CVT transmission, which is what I have. I'll talk more about the powertrain in just a sec. They've tweaked all that to give a quieter, firmer, more controlled, and more comfortable ride. And I have to say, I've been impressed with the ride of this Sentra. I've driven it both in the city and on the highway, and in both situations, they've done a really good job. And the highways where you really start to recognize when noises start coming in, that's when you really appreciate NVH, or noise vibration and harshness reduction, is when you're on the highway. And then when you're in the city, that's when you can really feel the ride, because that's when you hit imperfections like manhole covers and like even lines painted on the road, potholes, all that kind of stuff. Really good in both of those environments. Power-wise, we've got 149 horsepower. I guess they couldn't quite get it to 150, hey? All right, then. 149 horsepower and 146. They couldn't quite get it to 145, or 145 wasn't enough. Pound-feet of torque fed to the front wheels through a CVT automatic. There is no manual mode of any kind on any of the Sentra trims, not even the more performance-oriented SR version. That's disappointing to me. There are plenty of vehicles in this segment at this price that at least give you a manual mode for your CVT. There aren't real gears being changed, because that's not how CVT works, but they give you the virtual feeling that there are. I appreciate that. Don't have that here. I do have a B though, which gives you like a lower range for when you're climbing steep hills. That's cool. The only problem is the gate, if you want to call it that, between D and B, drive and B mode, isn't defined enough. And oftentimes when I'm first getting into this, and this has been the case with Nissans for a while, I'm putting it in B without really knowing it. Now I'm revving the engine like crazy, I'm wasting gas, like what's going on? Oh, I'm in B mode. So you want to keep that in mind when you start up in the Sentra as well. Power's fine. I mean, 149 horsepower, that is not going to win any races necessarily, but the power is delivered smoothly. That's one of the benefits of a CVT, and it gets the power down to the road well enough. I mean, you're not buying this vehicle, it's not a performance car. Yes, there is a Sentra Racing Cup in Canada. They haven't yet said what they're doing with that now that the new car is out, but there is one, so there is a performance element, and Nissan has always kind of had that performance vibe in a lot of their cars. There is a sport mode if you want to increase your throttle response, changes the way the transmission acts a bit, also adds some weight to your steering. I do appreciate that. I've been in sport mode for a lot of this drive, which is done by this toggle down here. Nothing too kind of crazy, but it's nice that at least we have that. Yeah, so the big thing though with the Sentra, I think, is the comfort inside and the value proposition it presents, which is a bit tough to discuss right now because Nissan isn't really telling us what the pricing is yet on this. At the time of recording, they haven't told us pricing. If we learn pricing, but between the time I record this and when I actually publish it, I'll put that on the screen there, but right now we don't have pricing. Figure it's gotta be under $30,000 though. I mean, if you're gonna talk about how much the Sentra is a value proposition, and they did say that, and it appeals to younger buyers, which they also said, you're gonna have to have good pricing, right? And it's kind of strange they haven't told us that yet. We'll learn more about the pricing as it gets closer to release for this new 2026 Sentra, which is in late 2025. Also, one thing you want to talk about is the infotainment. I mentioned the wireless Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. That's good. I've also got Bose audio in this trim. 8 speakers, Bose audio. It's pretty good, up from 4 on a standard car. It doesn't come standard though, Bose, on any of these trims. You can only get it as part of an option package on the SR. There's no standalone Bose audio system, so you want to keep that in mind as well. But Apple CarPlay and Android Auto plus wireless connection is all standard in all Sentras, all the way down to S. So that's good to know, but if you want better speakers, you got to upgrade a little bit. But all in all, I mean, this car looks great. I mean, right now, I'd say the most interesting or the most bold looking car in this segment is probably Hyundai Elantra, especially if you talk about the N version. This has kind of got some of those vibes, especially in SR with that darkened grille we talked about in the intro, with the spoiler, those wheels. It looks kind of, I've got some Elantra N vibes here. I think this one looks actually more aggressive than the more powerful Honda Civic SI does, in my opinion. This one looks more like the SI, I think, should. Then again, the Civic's kind of a bit of a boring looking car these days. That's just kind of Honda's design language right now. But this is one of the cooler looking vehicles, and if they are aiming at a younger buying group with the styling, they should definitely have that box ticked in the Sentra. Anyway, thank you for tuning in to this quick look at the 2026 Nissan Sentra SR. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do. If not, no hard feelings, of course. You can follow me on Instagram at Dan the Wheelman, on Blue Sky at Dan the Wheelman, and of course, keep it locked to the Dan the Wheelman YouTube channel. Always fun new stuff going up here, there, and everywhere. So thanks again for tuning into this video, folks. Hope you enjoyed it. This is Dan the Wheelman signing off from somewhere in the desert.